Begin tonight with the assassination of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani, which is still generating reactions globally. And it appears the Nigerian police is not ready to take any chances. To this end, the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, is placing police commands and formations nationwide on red alert in what police authorities describe as a proactive measure. In a statement by the Force PRO, the police is citing credible intelligence reports suggesting that following the recent killing of the Iranian general, some domestic interests are planning to embark on a massive public disturbance and sabotage. The police commanders have been directed to ensure strategic deployments of both overt and covert operatives to ensure adequate security and safety of citizens, foreigners, especially diplomats and diplomatic missions domiciled in Nigeria, as well as the protection of critical national assets. Qasem Soleimani, the head of Iran's elite Kurds military force and one of the most powerful figures in the Islamic Republic, was killed early Friday in an airstrike in Baghdad ordered by the United States President Donald Trump. To politics, it's barely 6 months after Nigerians went to the polls to elect a president for the next 4 years. But some politicians are already talking about plans for the next election. So latest, the controversial senior pastor of Lateran Assembly and former vice presidential candidate Tunde Bakare is calling on President Muhammadu Buhari not to sit on the fence when it comes to choosing his successor. Pastor Bakare, who was speaking at his State of the Nation address, says President Buhari should be thinking about how to protect his legacies when he leaves office. According to him, President Buhari will only be following the footsteps of some world leaders who played a role in choosing their successors as a way of sustaining their legacies in the choice of successors. Our correspondent, Chris Elems, has a report.
With the turn of a new decade, Nigeria will be celebrating 60 years of independence.
Including those in government and those who are led.
How far the country has fared is of concern to the senior pastor of the Lateran Assembly, Pastor Tunde Bakare, who on this occasion speaks on unveiling the enemies of the country.
Enemies of our nation.
He begins by first identifying those he believes have been erroneously tagged enemies of the country.
They become threats to national stability only when they take to subversive tactics. Otherwise, those sectional groups calling for better representation in the context of true federalism and for self-determination within the provisions of international law are not the enemies of Nigeria.
While condemning the attempt to gag Nigerians through the social media bill, he takes a swipe at those he calls enemy of the state.
Those who sell their votes or connive with political bandits to shortchange their children's children, those who partake of loot and celebrate looters from the same ethnic group or religious organization, those who say of the looters, we not say na thief, but this thief na our thief. These are the true enemies of Nigeria. The true enemies of our nation are those agents of oppression who place excruciating multiple tax burdens on often defenseless Nigerians. Not because they want to amass the proceeds for the benefit of the people, but because they must take remittances to their morally corrupt, perverse, bankrupt political benefactors. These are the true enemies of Nigeria.
He is not done, as he wants President Buhari to take a cue from other world leaders that have put in place measures to protect their legacies.
Democratic governance, a key responsibility that history has bestowed on President Muhammadu Buhari at this turning point in our journey to nationhood, is to institutionalize systems of accurate succession that will build and sustain the Nigeria we desire, not the ones that will hand us over again to treasury looters. This is a task that must be done.
It's still a long way to the next general elections, but it appears politicians are not leaving anything to chance. Only recently, President Muhammadu Buhari cautioned that anyone that hopes to succeed him will have to work for it. This latest pronouncement from Pastor Bakare will no doubt provoke another round of debate in political circles in the days to come. Chris Elems, Channels Television News.
Well, not everyone agrees with that proposition, and definitely not the main opposition party, the People's Democratic Party. One of the party's chieftain and former Minister of Aviation, Osita Chidoka, did not mince words as to why the president should not play any role in the choice of his successor. He would rather want that role left for Nigerians to determine who takes over from President Buhari. He was speaking on our political program, Sunday Politics.
On the views of Pastor Bakare is rather unfortunate. The president, for his own legacy, should abstain from interfering with the process that will bring out a successor. Let Nigerians make their choice. All that he should promise Nigerians and deliver to Nigerians is free and fair, credible elections, which I think is becoming difficult, but I pray in the last 2 years of his regime and looking towards a legacy that will outlive him, the most important will be for free and fair elections. I do not think he should listen to the advice of anybody telling him to anoint a successor or to find those that will lead the country to sustain his legacy. His legacies will live in the hearts of those who has been impacted by his government.
And staying with politics, elder statesman Alhaji Tanko Yakasai is challenging those seeking to restructure Nigeria to define in exact terms what they mean. He told Channels Television's Ladia Kerdulale on our current affairs program, Newsnight, that having witnessed a great deal of restructuring in Nigeria already, the problem is not that of structure.
I have been in Nigeria, like also you have been, even when we were only 2 units, southern and northern protectorates. And then when we became 3, one western region was separated from the east. And then when we became 12 states, 4 regions.
4 regions, then 12
then
states.
12 states, then 19, then 21, then 31, then 36. All this, in my opinion, a process of restructuring. Now, if we can change from one to another, how many times? About 5 or 6 times. We've been changing the structure. And even we went to the extent of changing parliamentary system into a presidential system. And yet, we have not gotten right. It means that the problem is not that of structure. We should begin to look for why the problem is there. People who are agitating for restructuring in Nigeria should please endeavor to define what restructuring in Nigeria would look like.
You can watch the full interview with Alhaji Akasai on Newsnight. It airs at 9 p.m. right here on Channels Television. Human rights group, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has challenged President Muhammadu Buhari, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, as well as the 36 state governors and their deputies to publicly declare their assets. In a Freedom of Information request released to the public today, SERAP is asking the president and the governors to provide a summary of their assets, specifically property and income, contained in their asset declaration forms submitted to the Code of Conduct Bureau since their assumption of office. SERAP is also asking them to clarify within 7 days of the receipt of the letter if they have any reason to review and update the asset declarations submitted to the CCB, while also providing the summary of any such review. And now to internal security. At least 1 person has been killed, with several others injured by unknown gunmen in Taraba State. The Caretaker Committee chairman of Wukari local government area, Daniel Grace, who confirmed the incident to Channels Television via a telephone interview, said the incident happened at about 7 p.m. on Saturday in Wukari local government area. One of the drivers, who said 4 of his passengers were abducted, explained that the kidnappers were dressed in military camouflage. The police public relations officer in Taraba, David Misal, who also confirmed the incident to Channels Television, insists efforts are ongoing to rescue the victims as they have engaged sister security agencies, vigilante group, as well as youths of the area. Meanwhile, troops of the 29th Task Force Brigade claim to have killed several Boko Haram insurgents and captured arms and ammunition from the terrorists in an encounter at Jakana, about 42 kilometers north of Maiduguri, the Borno state capital. According to the Nigerian Army Operations Media Coordinator, Colonel Aminu Ilyasu, the battle took place on Saturday as part of a series of operations to neutralize Boko Haram hideouts between Jakana and Mainok. Colonel Ilyasu also confirmed that the operation, conducted by combined troops of 5 and 29 Battalion, in conjunction with the Chief of Army Staff Intervention Battalion 2, also rescued 461 captives from Boko Haram insurgents. Colonel Ilyasu adds, Colonel Aliu adds that another group of 4 miners were also rescued by troops of the 159 Task Force Battalion deployed at a checkpoint along Damasak-Kareto Road in Moba local government area of Borno State. Boko Haram fighters might have been defeated and their caliphates in Borno State dismantled by federal troops, but residents of Goza Local Government Council say this is not enough. They're crying out over the hardship fueled by the unstable security situation in the area, fomented by the insurgents who are believed to be fully active in the mountains a few miles from the township. The nearly 80,000 returnees are asking the federal government to empower the army to clear the Boko Haram remnants.
Goza was liberated from the hands of insurgents in March 2015 after serving as the legal caliphate of the insurgents for many months. Nearly 5 years after, the indigents are still unable to settle down to their normal lives and livelihood. The presence of insurgents outside the local government headquarters and the bushes will not allow farmers and travelers engage in their trade.
You cannot go beyond a kilometer outside the town because Boko Haram are lurking around. Farming is also impossible. There is no way we can go to the farm except with escorts from the military or vigilantes. Our biggest problem is this mountain because they can fire their missiles from behind the mountains into the town.
To this day, if you want to travel from Goza, the military would have to scan the roads every day because we do not have total security. And sometimes Boko Haram fighters come out from the bush in the night and plant explosives on the road, which is why the security forces do not allow people to pass without scanning and escort from here to Pulka.
Now 80,000 returnees are compelled to live in limited facilities provided in the only 4 towns considered safe in Goza. The Senate Chairman, House Committee on the Army, Ali Ndume, wants the Army to clean up more villages to decongest the overstretched facilities.
Now that relative peace have returned to Borno State and particularly the local government, the other villages should be recovered so that the people can go back. And we also appeal to the military to open up the roads, particularly from Maiduguri to Madagali, that is our border state of Adamawa, so that people and goods can easily and freely be moving, and then life will return to full and normalcy.
Your dance steps, very beautiful.
The Army recently celebrated its annual West African Social Activities WASA and Medal Parade in Goza, with the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukuru Budate, and other high-ranking officers in attendance, with the aim of building the confidence of both the fighting troops and the local people.